What if I told you that we are currently in a place that was a stronghold of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, has the oldest still operating astronomical clock in the world, and was a temporary home for Miss Sydney herself? This is Prague. That's now the third time we've seen the clock go off. I gotta say, it's a little creepy. You got the skeleton ringing in death, and then you have all the guys peeping out of the window. But it's pretty amazing. I mean, look at this. Every hour, there's a huge crowd of people. Everyone's got their phone out. This is an event. We're gonna be taking you all around Prague today and showing you everything you need to see while here in this amazing city. The astronomical clock, which is over 600 years old, is absolutely one of those things. But on top of seeing the clock go off, you can also get a pretty great view on top of the tower. This is awesome. We've been to a few bell towers around Europe, and this is probably the best one we've seen. I mean, just how it looks down the main square. It is tight quarters up here, so I would definitely recommend coming early in the day so there's not as big of a crowd. I can't imagine when it's crowded up here. Probably hard to even move. Those are the apostles that appear when the clock is going off. And you can see the gears. That's so cool. We've successfully dodged a little rain. Here in Prague, all you have to do if it starts raining is find a tent, find a covered area, get a Pilsner Urkel, and just wait it out. Now Sydney's gonna show me some of her favorite places she used to hang out at. But before we do that, the one touristy thing I have to do here in Prague is see the castle. So the castle is the official residence of the Czech president, and much like at Buckingham Palace in London, they do have the guards outside that they can't move, they can't make any faces, any facial expressions, they just have to be on guard. They have to have that very stoic manner. But unlike Buckingham Palace, where there's that gate that kind of keeps all the tourists at bay, people can just walk right up to them. I'm like absolutely amazed at the fact people are just taking pictures like right next to these guys.
You're gonna go do it?
I guess so, I don't really want to. The main event of Prague Castle, St. Vitus Cathedral. How many cathedrals can you see before getting sick of cathedrals? We're not there yet.
It's actually the largest ancient castle?
Well, no, the castle is the whole thing. Yeah, which I know that's confusing.
That's tripping me up.
I know. Apparently St. Vitus Cathedral brings over 1 million tourists to Prague every year, and we can definitely see that looking around. You can see this thing all over the city, especially since it's on a big hilltop, but you can't really get the scale of the size of it until you're right in front of it. This is a gigantic cathedral, probably the biggest we've seen since Cologne, and I wouldn't have guessed that looking across the river at it, but wow, that's pretty awesome. Prague Castle is one of the most popular tourist attractions here in Prague, and it's just because you're up on this hill, you feel like you're on top of the city, there's so much historical significance. The castle is the entire complex, so I think a lot of times when people think of a castle, they think of one big stone structure. But here in Prague, the Prague Castle is considered this entire complex, and it is actually, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, it is the oldest ancient castle in the entire world. Yes, the entire world, right here in Prague. It covers 750,000 square feet, which is just kind of hard to believe. We're really only getting a taste of it. St. Vitus Cathedral, definitely the main event, but there are some other churches and basilicas around. Well, St. Vitus Cathedral is definitely the most imposing church on this complex. This is the oldest, St. George's. This was built in 920. It is really cool to look up at the stone towers and think that, well, it has of course been preserved, a lot of the original structure remains, and that is just, that's too long ago to think about. Overlooking the castle walls towards the city, one of the greatest views you're going to find of Prague. Even better, in my opinion, than the top of the Astronomical Clock Tower. You can just see absolutely everything. The Charles Bridge, the main square, even down towards the business district with all the buildings. And the best part about this, it's completely free to come up here. Most of the must-see tourist attractions here in Prague are all in the same general area. So we're gonna go see the last one that you absolutely have to see as we cross back over the river.
So although we took the tram up to the castle, I would recommend taking the steps down because there's a few things you need to see along the way.
I think we just saw one of them. So we mentioned before how Prague was a very important place for the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So when King Charles was here, this bridge was constructed, and at the time that it was completed, it was the only way to cross the river. It also has quite a bit of dark history behind it. This was a place where executions happened quite a bit. One of the most famous executions happened, and there's a place that marks the spot. We walked across the Charles Bridge during our food tour, and that's absolutely something you should do if you're here in Prague. But honestly, this bank that you can come right up to the waterfront, this is a better view, and there's not as many people here. The other cool part about it is that the aquatic wildlife just comes right up to you. We've seen ducks, we've seen swans, we even saw a beaver. I think this is the best place to see the Charles Bridge. Just a very short walk from Charles Bridge is what's known as the Lennon Wall. The reason it's called the Lennon Wall is because since the 1960s, there were poems and just works of art in general that reflected a lot of John Lennon's philosophies, particularly when it comes to peace and love. Obviously, this was very important when communism was so prevalent in this region, and a lot of times the wall was completely painted over, but people kept coming back, and in general, just to make sure that those ideas of peace and love lived on. It's really cool because it's very similar in smaller scale to what we saw at the Berlin Wall, and the idea that art and freedom of expression are really important in times of trial and suffering. And it's also really cool that it's still here. I love the fact that these kinds of murals and works of art, there's an emphasis on them being preserved. And I think that's absolutely so cool.
Anyone can come here with markers, spray paint, and put their mark on the wall. In Berlin, it's treated more as an art gallery where the artist's art are more respected. Here, it's everyone's wall.
The coolest thing about the Charles Bridge to me is just all the vendors all the way down. There's a guy playing the flute down there, and he's actually selling the flutes that he makes himself. There's art over here. Most of the art revolves around something to do with Prague and the Charles Bridge. There's caricatures, those are always fun. There's just always something happening on this bridge, and it's not even all that wide or all that long. It's just where everybody is. And I also love the sculptures too. That's one of the coolest things, is just seeing all these sculptures on both sides. A lot of them kind of look singed as well. And on both sides of the bridge, it's just an amazing view. Děkuji vám. Prosím. Ne. Ne. Ano. So yes is ano. And sometimes they just say no for yes.
I don't speak Czech.
I don't speak Czech. Is this one?
Yeah.
Nemluvím Czechsky.
Česky.
Česky. Nemluvím Česky. Pilsner Urquell #1 of the day. We found it right at a stand at the main square. They also had a good selection of food, including this ham behind me.
So good, right? This will warm you up. on a cold, rainy day.